My partner today is Pete Sellars, Chief Executive of the Institute of Health Engineers and Estates Managers. Pete's a very experienced and successful leader in healthcare management, having worked at both local and national level. He's agreed to share his experiences of how he and the organisation of IHEAM responded to COVID-19.
Thank you for that introduction, and just to ensure everybody understands who we are and what we are about. The Institute of Healthcare Engineering and Estate Management is an international professional organisation which is affiliated to the Engineering Council in the United Kingdom. We are probably the only specialised healthcare profession in England. We operate not just here in England, but we actually have links across Europe and through our connections wider to internationally, to around about 80 countries internationally. Why do we exist? Well, someone had the very good foresight before the NHS started, actually, to recognise that engineering in healthcare needed some proper support around research, around developing its members, and around making sure that innovation and new ideas is brought to the industry. Today, we are doing exactly that same thing, but we think we've developed, and obviously, although we keep the same kind of fundamental principles of what the Institute was formed, we're obviously very much around focusing to support a modern NHS moving forward. And our ultimate aim is really to ensure our members have the skills, have the capability and the education and the knowledge and the experience to actually carry out their duties to ensure that the healthcare professions can deliver clean, safe, fit for purpose healthcare to our patients.
Thanks very much, Pete. That's really a clear outline of IHEAM. I think the big issue that we really want to explore is COVID-19. Obviously, that's impacted on everybody's lives, but obviously the big impact has been very much on the healthcare sector, and it would be useful to understand how you and IHEAM responded to that. There will have been lots of challenges, some of which will have gone unnoticed by many people, but how did you and IHEAM support your staff and the wider NHS through that very difficult time that's still here, really?
Yes, you're right, it was very difficult, and I think in fairness, we were quite early in our decision making. We chose to actually stop all our face-to-face activities with our members and our companies and affiliates and supporters. We moved our staff very quickly to remote working, so we were very pleased we did that. What we recognised very early was that we started to receive a lot of questions from members and companies and indeed policy people and the Royal Academy of Engineers, who were directly informing SAGE and people at government level in terms of engineering support or engineering queries, particularly when they started to build the Nightingale hospitals. So we formed a group from our members very quickly, literally within 24 hours, and I really grateful that a lot of our members was able to support me to help support the system in terms of providing engineering support and knowledge into those particular areas. We've also got a wider duty to support our members and also our profession internationally, and I'm really pleased that we created an international newsletter. We literally put this together in around 4 or 5 days. We were sending publications out every 2 weeks, and I'm told that went to over 80 countries around the world and hit around 30,000 plus. And I was really proud that we were able to actually show some leadership here from not only IHEAM but from UK to help our colleagues around the world.
Yeah, I think there's some really important points there. I think certainly the learning from each other across the world is really, really important And I think it's a message that a very successful relationships have developed, and I'm sure were there before, but are probably much stronger now and will continue to be stronger going forward. So that, I think that's really important.
June, you're exactly right. The relationships were there, but I think what COVID-19 has done was actually strengthened those relationships. I think it's made people and organisations understand that they do need to reach out and share knowledge and experience and best practice. And as I said earlier, it was our colleagues in Italy who gave us a very early insight into some of the problems, engineering problems around medical gases. And what we was able to do is through the work with the other engineering bodies in England, actually start to share that knowledge and best practice and people's personal experiences, which I know has really helped other people get ready for dealing with what they had to deal with coming over the hill in terms of COVID-19. And I think what that's done is create a fantastic platform where in the future, we, HIEM, will be heavily linked in terms of the work we're doing to ensure that we're able to not only share our knowledge and experiences, but also gather knowledge and experiences from other parts of the world, which I think will be so valuable to our people working in the NHS.
What do you think are the key messages? How would you sum up the messages about the experience of COVID-19 and the responses? But also about what's the considerations for going forward, lessons learned, how healthcare estates and facilities what will the impact be on healthcare estates and facilities?
Yeah, Julie, it's a really, really good question, and it's very kind of far wide and reaching in lots of areas. First of all, I think we should recognise our workforce. Our workforce, not just in the estates and facilities, but across the entire NHS, have been absolutely fantastic. So the very first thing I would hope is that there is a recognition that our profession has played a massive role in ensuring the facilities and the environment was there for the clinicians and the nurses to deliver the wonderful care they did. But I also hope that actually the engineering services, what are there to support them, are also given due consideration around what I would call now is a new agenda of resilience. We need to ensure these services have got the resilience to deal with the peaks and troughs of what we've seen over the last few months. And clearly, COVID-19 has shown a weakness in that area. The way and the speed this happened shows that actually the system can make decisions when it needs to make decisions and not take 5 years to have a discussion around whether something is needed or a full debate around, you know, the ins and outs of whatever that looks and feels like. So I think going forward, that there's an opportunity for some sensible balance in decision making. You know, let's do a little bit of reflection. Let's understand what the future functionality looks like. You know, for many years we've been reducing space around what were called non-clinical areas. I understand from colleagues in the system, one of the big factors in COVID-19 was making sure space for medics and nurses were there for them to, rest, relax, have a half hour off, where traditionally those spaces haven't been built into the system. So I think there's all these questions in terms of functionality and future design will need to be considered. I hope we don't spend, too long working that out, and also capitalise on the fact that actually the system can make decisions quite quickly, and if need be, we can move the system forward. I would strongly hope that we do start to reach out internationally to look at what good is, and look at what other countries and other bodies have done. I do believe there is an opportunity. I do believe there's a desire to do this. I also personally believe there is only the window of opportunity will only be around for so long, which I think that by bringing together that timeliness in making decisions and getting on and doing it is so important. But also just pause and have a little bit of reflection and understand what did work well elsewhere around the world.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things in there that you said that I would agree with. I think the learning from other places, the preparedness. It's important that there is investment in staff that are not clinical staff to ensure that the services can be provided to patients in the best possible way. So totally agree with that.
And I think, again, just looking forward, I know COVID-19 is making all organisations and all individuals actually think about what the new norm looks like. We, particularly as an institute, are going to be accelerating our plans in terms of providing that professional support, development, online training, online webinars, professional accreditation, everything we can do to help our members, because they need it, they really do. The feedback I'm getting is that our estates people, not for the very first time, but in lots of cases, are saying their interface and their working relationships with the clinicians and doctors has never been as strong as it is today. And we need to make sure we keep those connections in place, really for the sake of our patients and our system, because they are, as you know, June, so dependent on one another.
Well, Pete, I think that's a really good note to finish on, really. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, your aspirations, I suppose, for both the institute and for your profession. And it's been extremely interesting.
Yeah, well, no, thank you for the invite. I've really appreciated the opportunity to try to get that message out on behalf of our fraternity.